Good afternoon, everyone. It's the effects of COVID-19 on the family, the blueprint, and today's topic is physical and verbal abuse. So take this time to like and share, invite your family and friends to join in on the discussion, and let us, share our experiences and see how best it is we can help one another.
My baby Jojo, Jojo, my baby Jojo, my baby Jojo, Jojo. One time, Diddy goes I body two person we want
DJ Bolt in the building.
Another one to try lose you, try I'm no bunny. I know if tire for you, but I like say I know do. Suddenly man, I calm down, man down for only you, yeah. Many man, they try to whine you. I don't really mind, they just they whiny. Many gal, they try to whine me. Baby, no go mind them, just be whiny.
Yes, so we are inside. Yes, good afternoon to everyone. It is the effects of COVID-19 on the family, the blueprint, and this evening's discussion is physical and verbal abuse. So last 2 weeks we dealt with domestic violence, holistically. And last week we spoke about sexual abuse, where we had our guest Candice, who shared her experience of sexual abuse, and it was really a touching life, and one that would have encouraged persons who would have been victims of sexual abuse to know that they can be successful, they can be the best person that they can be despite the situation, and always remember that it's not your fault, right? It is unfortunate that persons experience, abuse of various forms. And we know that during the COVID-19 pandemic, we know there are cases on the rise, whether it's sexual, verbal, physical, emotional, and even financial abuse. Persons are experiencing this right now. And we have a short clip, to show you both on physical and verbal abuse, which we will be showing you shortly. So, we want everyone to just join in, tune in, invite your family and friends, and, you can even share your experience and, lend some words of encouragement to persons out there who would have been victims, and to the perpetrators, if it is you recognize, here's what you experienced. This is what you're doing, you're harming others, you're hurting others. You too can seek help to, change that pattern of behavior and, be a more positive individual, not bringing harm or anything like that to anyone. So on the inside, we have Mike to the top of the screen and that small box there on the right next to me. And then we have Abby and we have Nicola, trying to get in still, right? So you're hoping that she gets in because she's also a social worker as well. Right, so Abby, so those of you who always tune in, Abby is from England, right? And she works in the health sector. So I'm sure she would have witnessed at some point in time persons who experience physical abuse coming to the hospital, and who knows, sometimes a lot of times persons try not to get their abuser in what they will say trouble, or they don't want them being charged, they don't want to leave them, and they try to hide the abuse. Yes, so we will show the short clip on physical abuse, before we get into the whole depth of what physical abuse is all about and what it is we can do to get out of it, what it is we can do to help others if it is we see that they are in that situation. Yeah, so we'll go to the physical abuse video because we'll touch on that first. And then we go over to the verbal abuse and show how sometimes how it ties into one, and sometimes it's not just verbal, it's not just physical, it can be both, or it can be verbal that lead into physical abuse. Yes, so Abby, have you ever?
In this video, I am going to explain what physical abuse is. Now, the most important thing to remember is that physical abuse is always illegal, no matter who is committing it, no matter who the victim is. And it involves some kind of physical force that either harms or is intended to harm another person. Physical abuse often starts quite gradually, but will increase over time in its frequency and in its intensity, and involves things like kicking, biting, scratching, slapping, shoving. It might involve someone pinning you up against the wall or down on the bed. It can involve force feeding food. It can involve denying food, reckless driving, any act that is intended or does cause harm. Now, victims can be men, women and children, but they are most commonly children because children are the most vulnerable and dependent members of our society. Now, it is common for the perpetrators of physical abuse to blame their victims, to say that their behaviour has been caused by something that victim has done. They may also blame the influences of stress or maybe alcohol and drugs. It's also very common for the perpetrators of this type of abuse to be incredibly remorseful, to beg forgiveness, to promise that it'll never happen again. And these apologies can seem very sincere and may well be very sincere, which makes it hard for victims to protect themselves. But it's important to remember, physical abuse is always the responsibility of the abuser, of the perpetrator, and their behaviour is never justifiable or acceptable. Now, physical abuse can also have some quite emotional consequences. It can lead the victims to feeling very anxious, very depressed. It can lead to low self-esteem, and these things can make victims more vulnerable to further abuse, because it leads to the development of a belief that you somehow deserve to be treated in this way, or that you don't deserve to be treated any better. If you are a victim of physical abuse, it is really important that you get some help to protect yourself, and I have put some links to organisations that will help you to do this, because everybody deserves to be treated with kindness and respect. Now, I'm here making these videos to help you, so if you have any questions or any worries, or you need more information, please put your comments down below. I really hope that this was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.
Good afternoon, Verena.
Good
So we have Verena.
afternoon.
We
Good
have Verena
afternoon.
inside with us. Good afternoon, Mrs. Lewis. Yes, so just to add to the list, right, of things that persons may do to their victims, another thing that persons do burn their victims. So let us say a man, he likes to smoke cigarettes, or even a woman, they sometimes place that cigarette butt and burn the skin of their victim. Sometimes, if it is a child, maybe, as she said, children are really vulnerable, as well as the elderly. I'm going to add in the elderly as well, both of them, and persons with disabilities. So the most vulnerable persons in our community are children, the elderly, and persons with disabilities. And they are very, very, prone to, being victims of abuse, right? So they do different. So it's sometimes as simple as a pinch. People think that pinching is normal, but once it is very repetitive. It's a normal type of, it's a behavior that recurs. It is on a regular basis. Slapping, you get angry at the child, or at your partner, or even at an elderly person. Sometimes the elderly person may be experiencing dementia, or they may have Alzheimer's, or they're in a situation that they can't go to the washroom for themselves, and you leave them there in there, and they, let us say, they have to use pampers, and they leave them right there on the bed in all the mess, right? That is a form of physical abuse as well. And as she rightly said, force feeding and even denying persons food, that's a form of physical abuse. So sometimes some parents, they may think, well, I'm punishing the child, they have to be disciplined. And when you look at the form of discipline that they give the child, it is really abuse and not discipline, right? So that's why I think that they were trying to ban the corporal punishment, because there's a very fine line, and sometimes persons may cross that line, right? And we know that with physical, everybody talks about the physical. It's something that you can see. You can see the bruises. Some persons try to hide the marks. So you may know a woman to be wearing all the hot outfits. She may have like wearing the thin straps and her arms outside, with the legs outside, and then all of a sudden you see her covering up herself. She don't wear shades. All of a sudden she wearing shades. Abby, I don't know how, like, have you ever experienced anyone coming into the hospital, a woman, a child, a teen coming trying to hide? Have you ever experienced anything like that before?
Teen, yes. More in the Asian community.
Okay.
Indian, yes, you would see more that happen. And due to their wear clothes that cover themselves anyway, but the glasses, you don't already cover, but you're adding glasses to it, so it look a bit weird to me. Why?
Yeah.
But is, sometimes you want to go and talk to them, touch them on the shoulder. They'll try to pull away. Yeah, they don't wanna let loose and open up and talk to you because they're scared.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them that have that kind of problem.
Good afternoon, Candace. Yes,
Afternoon,
Rina.
Candace. I have when I started the OJT program, I met a young girl. She was, of course, a teenager. I think she was about 19, going on 20 or so. And she was a victim of physical abuse. Thankfully, she left the boy now, but he used to do exactly what you said, take cigarette butts and burn her and things like that. And she would laugh telling us that story, because to her it's like normal, and that really, I have a passion for that. So, I sat with her and I talk, and we were talking down in the taxi. I think it was like the whole taxi started to talk because she was speaking about this like this was normal. He just told me on my stomach. And we wanted to just feel crazy. But I had to open up because I always speak against physical abuse or any form of abuse. So I still speak to her today, and well, she's better off now, not going through that type of abuse anymore.
Yeah, and as you mentioned that, right? So sometimes persons may not even recognize that they are in a bad situation. They may not realize what's happening to them is actually wrong. And some persons even find it normal to be a part of their culture. So in some cultures, as you know, they will say, let us say the man is the head of the home, or the man is in control and he should take control of situations. And they will say that if it is you do something wrong, then it is you deserve the punishment. And they'll just call it punishment. And the woman thinking, okay, this is okay. And then if it is they grow up seeing it happen to their mothers, and most of the times when it is persons grow up in certain cultures, they also marry into the culture. So not all the time they may go outside of their culture or their religion or whatever belief system they have, right? So it's like a norm. And when that happens, even when it is persons try to get out of that cycle, let us say a young woman, she grew up seeing her mom experiencing this, or she may not have, but when it is she gets into a relationship, she's married, and she goes back to her the home of her parents, and they are saying, no, you have to stay with your husband. You can't come back here. There are cases like that, right? They say, well, and they may say, you maybe do something to get him angry. That's why he lashed out at you. Or maybe that's why it is, he ridicules you or embarrasses you. And there are cases too where there are women. So the women are known for their tongue, right? And they may not hit, but the words, it could lash, right? It may not be a physical lash, but when it is, they use that word, right? It really emasculates the man. It puts them, they feel belittled. And some women, when it is really, really bad. And I mean, sometimes they could do it in front of people, raise their voices, right? And it have some cases where we know they are the situation where they may be nice and smiling in front of others, so everybody thinking everything is okay. And behind closed doors, it's a different person. So some people might be like, why this person leave the relationship? Or why does the child behave in that way? So when a child comes to school and they realize that they are bullying other children and they are very angry and they're having outbursts, they can be, and they now want to feel some sense of power. Sometimes they take it out on their classmates or schoolmates or anybody that seem, much smaller than they are. So they can take, control. Now they feel like if they have some kind of power, right? And most times when persons take advantage and they abuse someone, it's because it's end up being about power and control, right? Power and control. And we too, when we did the first, topic on domestic violence, Lion was talking about something, we ourselves may have traits of an abuser and we may not even recognize it. So, we have to be also mindful, how it is we speak to our children, how it is we speak to our partners, how we speak to co-workers, how we speak to our elderly. Because sometimes the behaviors can be very much abusive in words alone. Little things that and sometimes people say, nah, I just joking, small thing, and they call you names and then like play it off. And it's sometimes the littlest thing.
They
All
know
of
you
a
have
sudden,
a thing with your nose, an insecurity with your nose, and they say,
yeah,
what she says of your nose so big and whatever, and then they laugh it off. Okay, I'm just joking, but you're already
yeah,
feeling bad,
exactly. And then when it comes to nose, they might say other things about other parts of your body and say, you better go and fix yourself and go by a surgeon. And some persons, they even go as far as saying, you won't find nobody else like me, whether it's a man or a woman. And they use these words and, you doesn't understand, can I break this down for you? You doesn't understand anything. You're like a child. Sometimes and it could be very, very constant in the things that people say to their children. Even women, mothers saying, you just like your father. What that's supposed to mean? And every time they are telling the child, you just like your father, you dotish. You're good for nothing. And they say these things and people don't understand that if it is this person trusts you and love you and thinking that you are the one supposed to bring positivity into their lives, and then this is how you are dealing with them. What is left persons on the outside, right? So we're going to show the video on verbal abuse. So we know that people take the verbal lightly, and the verbal does affect persons' mental health and emotional well-being, which in turn affects the holistic, because we know what happens when persons are stressed out, what happens when persons have low self-esteem, right? They get into unhealthy habits, whether it's unhealthy eating habits, they may start using drugs, they may start abusing alcohol, right? So we're going to get into the verbal abuse aspect, and we hope everyone is really tuning in, and feel sure to drop any comment section if it is you who are a victim, how it is you overcome it, maybe, and what are the steps that you take, and are you in a situation where it is you would like to get out of an abusive relationship. And if it is you who are an abuser, you can reach out for help as well, and see how it is you can change your patterns of behavior into something that is more positive. Because if it is you could do it, it means you have energy, and once you have energy, you could either channel it into something positive or negative. Yeah, so Mike, run a little music. We will start the video shortly on verbal abuse and what it is all about, because sometimes the things that we say, watching it is hit your blue. Sometimes
you could build up somebody or break them down completely.
Exactly.
Just with a few words.
Just with a few words. Just with a few words.
Natural beauty,
Yes, spouses, yes.
Never been someone shy until I seen your eyes. Still I had to try, yeah. Oh yes, let me get my words right and then approach you. Woman, I'll treat you like a man is supposed to. You'll never have to cry.
Abuse that's not easy to spot, but indeed very harmful. It runs rampant and is the most underreported act of domestic violence of them all. 62% of tweens ages 11 to 14 report that they are aware of their friends being in verbally abusive relationships. 1 in 4 teenage girls who are in relationships report enduring repeated verbal abuse. Tweens and teens do not just automatically subject themselves to such relationships. It's learned behavior that stays for a long time. Verbal abuse is more than feeling uneasy. It dampens our spirits. After entering into adulthood, this behavior continues. In some cases, it turns into physical or sexual violence. But the verbal abuse is the most damaging to the psyche. Repeatedly exposing ourselves to verbal abuse can lead to loss of enthusiasm and suicidal thoughts. People may also be trapped in the what-if thoughts and feel uneasy or paranoid for no reason. There are listed 5 warning signs of verbal abuse. If you are newly dating someone, take note of these tactics. 1. Withholding. They don't tell you everything and avoid sharing thoughts or feelings. Discussions become based only on facts with no real in-depth sharing. 2. It's just a joke. They are hiding the abuse behind the caveat, it's just a joke. People would often spend plenty of time trying to shame me for something in front of other people, and if you dared get upset, they would say, it's just a joke, you're being too sensitive. 3. Blocking and diverting. They control all conversations. The abuser decides what you two talk about, and if you change the subject, you are chastised for speaking out of turn. 4. Threatening. This can be as simple as, if you don't do this, I will leave you. 5. Name calling. It is the most popular form in which the abuser must reduce your self-esteem by using vulgar and demeaning language to describe you. If you find yourself in a situation with someone using verbal abuse, the way to combat the abuse is to call them out for their behavior every single time it happens. Avoid using you statements, such as, you are gaslighting me. Rather, be more direct with stop abusing me, or stop blaming me for things I cannot control. They will either learn from their behavior and stop, or they will move on to another person to try and abuse. Your other option is to set boundaries and not to pursue relationships with folks who do abuse you. This can be very difficult if this is a close familial relationship. Ultimately, you should not feel obligated to endure abuse for anyone at any time. When you set the boundary to only allow healthy relationships, you are empowering yourself to expect better treatment. It's important to note that verbal abuse is an act of domestic violence. It is not easy to spot, but indeed very harmful. It doesn't matter if someone never lays a hand on you. Verbally abusing you is harmful and damaging. If you or anyone you love is enduring verbal abuse, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline for help.
I never knew anyone so one of a kind.
Very important. That was so true. And I think mental abuse is just as bad as physical, or could be even worse.
Yeah. So when people use words, right, we have to understand that it gets to the mental, right? So the verbal, it ties in with mental abuse because these are lots of the things people may do. So it may not be something literally that is hurting you physically, like a slap or a kick or a cuff, right? But the things that they do, they may, let us say, blame you for things, or when they call you like certain names, or sometimes people even go as far as saying that you are crazy or something is wrong with your memory. And it will seem as if you're having some sort of memory loss. Sometimes you don't have no memory loss, Is that the person is bypassing what it is would have happened. And that affects the mental side of you, your mental and emotional well-being. So everything ties hand in hand. So when it is, someone may start off with verbal abuse, right? And you may, what I want to say, for once upon immunity, okay, so we have Alison Fleming Holiday. Where do I get help for a teenager with issues? So what you can do is actually contact us at 346-8730 and we will help you. Just send us a text message, or you can message on the page itself in Messenger, and we will get back onto you, Alison. Right? So what happens is when persons, they start off with verbal abuse, right? And you kind of what they will say is build a hard back then. And it's kind of like sometimes people let it become like a norm. You get accustomed to it. Some person may say like a dashing leaf the water, the words just flowing off, right? Even though, all right, 346-8730. Yeah. So they may say yes, I tough, and they will like play it off, right? Even when people telling their children things, they say, nah, that's just to toughen them up. No, you don't know how it is affecting that child mentally. They will start thinking, I am not good enough. They may start thinking that they cannot be successful at anything in life because you are telling them that they are good for nothing. You are telling them that you can't achieve anything, right? Yes, Nicola, verbal abuse is very normal. Very, very normal. It's like it's like nothing, right?
It's
like,
normalized, so it's like we can't even
yeah, it's
identify it
nobody
for ourselves.
identify that sometimes the parent or the couple, they cuss out one another. It's level as it be. Know what cuss mean? Level cuss, right? And you don't, and people grew up in that environment. Some men may say, well, you just good for sex, or even a woman might just say, you just good for your money. I only with you for your money, and the man ain't even realizing what she's saying, she mean it, right? And when she keeps saying that, and she's saying, I really is only because you working for the dollars and you could take care of me, So it goes. Sometimes people think, all right, only women who are the ones that are victims, are victims of abuse. But men go through it a lot of times. And as we say, it's the women who normally use their tongue. Because when it is see children, growing up, if even in single parent homes where it's the mother being the single parent, she is the one who will speak that negativity and say that, as I was saying earlier, you're just like your father, or you go end up in jail just like your father and your uncle and them, right? And then when it is that young man keeps
Better the
hearing
plant
that,
a fig tree.
yeah,
What is that?
when it is that young man is here, we are the ones who create our monsters. And we're talking about building. So when it is we're talking about the family, right? We are the ones creating our monsters. Good afternoon. This is my cousin on the inside here, right? Shanaka. So when it is we tell our children these things, right? And even some parents do, they put their child against their mother or their father. That is a form of abuse as well. Yes. So we have Maria Thomas. Yes, words have power. It could destroy or create. Yes. So when it is so, parents, please be careful whether it is a nuclear, whatever, whether nuclear extended single parent home. Be careful whether it's adopted child or not. Be careful of the words that you use on your children, because they are looking up to you, for your support. Yes, Nicola, they don't know it's a form of abuse. When people hear verbal, when it is somebody just cuss them out and say good for nothing, I go deal with you. And so many different things people say. It have so many things I can't even start to put them all together.
And any case
Right?
of verbal abuse, like some abusers play the victim, but they're really
Yes.
abusing you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it sometimes it makes you feel like you are doing something wrong, but it's really they playing victim to abuse you and to abuse how you will respond to them, you
Yes.
know?
So it might be like, you're not treating me right, and your responsibility is to take care of me, right? And they blame you for the way that they speak to you. They'll say, best either marry somebody else, or best I leave you, right? But anyway, you ain't find nobody good like me.
Well,
Yes, and
Chidi,
some abusers were definitely victims as well. And
exactly.
that is it. Sometimes that is a cycle. So that's why I'm saying, if it is we abuse our children, what we think gonna happen in the future?
Yep.
They will they may abuse their partners, they may abuse their children as well. So that's why I'm saying we need to be very careful. And even if you may not be speaking directly at the child and they are witnessing, they are seeing you abusing your partner or even a grandparent or someone else in the home, they will think that is normal. It is okay to be that way, right? They will think that it is okay to be that way, and we don't want them thinking it is okay to laugh at someone, to ridicule someone. So it starts from small. So when children are bullying other children in school, it starts that you will start seeing the
It's
signs,
from
and
the
that's where I
home.
say we need to nip it in the bud. You ever
Exactly.
hear that, nip it in the bud? That's
Nip it.
what we want to do. So as
Nip it.
yes,
Anybody.
yes, yes. So
Because
when it is we see,
we
Go
have
ahead.
like parents, like in the case of persons with disabilities, children wouldn't really understand disability and the person different. So they'll play and interact with you normal. And then parents will
mm-hmm.
get involved and say, don't play with that child, He slow or he retarded. I don't like to use that word, but that's what you hear in Trinidad here. And then the
Yes,
child now will pull away from the friend now and then start using those same words against the friend, and that's a classic example of how things happen right here in Trinidad. You know,
yes.
the
Even when it
parents will
comes
say
to
things and
race and religion,
hmm
Yep.
they learn it from their parents. Children are very innocent. They will play with
and
anyone. It's only if the adult teaches them or they see the adult doing it. Then
hmm
they learn. They learn from observing us.
But that's
Yeah.
why I said.
exactly.
That's why I said. When you look at in the homes where you have parents, a whole family, but mommy and daddy fighting all the time, and then right after that, I mentioned that already, so I'll say it again. You're fighting, the children see you fighting all the time, but you would go and sit down, probably in the living room with the children or whatever, and you would start to hug up, kiss up. So it come like a normal thing for the children over a period of time. And they might believe, especially girl children, they might believe that's a form of love most times. It's because I
So
saw my
right
daddy,
now,
I saw my
Mike.
daughter beating my mommy, and then after I loving she up, he loving she up after, so they figure that hey, it's a normal thing.
So right now, what they're calling it on social media, see a lot of people talk about toxic, right?
Toxic.
And yes, toxic. And they will actually make fun that they are in a toxic relationship, you know.
See?
Verena, I do not know if you see the toxic relationship, and even recently the people, I mean, the video that was circulated with the taxi driver and the woman,
May I saw that?
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the people were like joking and say, I want a woman to slap me like that and treat me like, and not everything becomes like a joke. So when
Exactly.
something is a
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
serious
exactly.
matter,
Yeah.
we don't, you know, really deal with it seriously, right? And what happens when it is verbal and physical combined, because what happens when it is persons are in a physical relationship, a lot of time they are also verbally abused, because you know, like when parents beating their children when they do something wrong and they get in trouble, what they're crying for, they beat them with whatever it is, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when it is they do that, so what happens? Some person may threaten. If it is you leave me, I killing you and me. Nobody else could have you. So that leaves the person feeling responsible to
Yeah.
hold that relationship together.
Yeah.
Saying if it is I leave, he going and kill himself, or she going and kill me, and you know they can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they say, well, I can't live without you. These sometimes people saying I cannot live without you, so they become very attached.
But then how many people strong enough to walk away? We keep saying that all the time.
Well, sometimes okay, like verbal abuse, as they say, it is not a reported. So imagine somebody is a victim of verbal abuse. Are you going to call the police and make a report and say I am being verbally abused? My husband,
No.
no, no,
And then
right?
okay, but
Physical on
if
the
you
other
make the
hand,
report, right, what is going to be the outcome of it?
what is going to be
You
the outcome
know,
of it?
what is the outcome?
So
What department they have? It's not really set up in a way to
yes. So
help you.
you might get help for sexual abuse, you may get help for physical. But when it comes to things that are not so physical in nature, there's nothing in place more than counseling, right? There would not be no shelter for someone who is being verbally abused or financially
Mm-hmm.
abused,
Yeah. True.
right? So
It
when
no,
it is in that situation,
sorry, yeah,
yes, Abby?
um it has little sectors, that you can call in and say that you're being mentally abused, and they can put you under, them little umbrella, and they would send people out to keep checking. They would even show up unannounced to make sure that they want to see evidence of it. But they had to be very careful when it comes to abuse. Any type of abuse is very serious over here.
Yes.
And they would send spies. They would talk to the neighbors. Have you heard any arguing? They're very serious when it comes to abuse, because there's
Okay.
a lot of suicide
Yep.
happening
Right.
around here,
Yeah.
especially around this time. So they're very
Yeah.
serious. So you could call in being verbally abused. They would send someone out, whether you know it or not. They would send someone out and they would ask the community, your neighbors, without you even knowing. They put someone to
Mm-hmm.
work.
Right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
our neighbors very helpful, because sometimes some people, like now we have this culture where we say we minding our business, right? We are not getting
Mm-hmm.
involved. And persons made that decisions for many different reasons. So some person may have tried to help someone in this situation. The person cannot reach out and then they say, nah, he come back and make up with me, or she come back and make up, and we back, normal. I
Back
didn't want
together
it to go that
again.
far,
Yeah.
and so, or it becomes
Stop minding my
physical,
business. Don't mind my
right?
business.
Yeah, or it becomes physical. They say, nah, don't talk to the woman so, and then the man or the woman turn on you. Wait till you get involved in this for them husband and wife business or man and
Exactly.
woman business, man.
Yeah.
Right? So some persons they are very, very careful of treading that water of, trying to reach out and help others. Right? But here in Trinidad, I don't know if there's anyone who would have called any authority
In
to say now
Trinidad.
when it comes to children, yes, you will get it.
Yeah.
But if
Not
it is a
adults.
woman, not
Yeah,
the, or even if it is an elderly, then some persons may report it. But when it comes to persons outside of that bracket, you will not hear anything of it,
and that's where
right?
the um people need to be sensitized in the sense of projects like that we running now. You don't get this on radio now anymore. You don't get it on television anymore. So what you saying is what people on the outside, people in Trinidad and Tobago needs to hear. Because as I said, neighbors these days not going to get involved in family disputes. That used to be long time. Because the first thing you will hear, the man might tell you XYZ, or the woman who's been abused might even turn on the same neighbor and say, this is our business. So that leaves the neighbor now, even though some of them might say they will still report. And at the end of the day, when the police come around now and start doing the questioning, because as Abby was saying, and I support what Abby was saying because I've experienced it, there's a difference handling domestic violence and abuse and thing here and in the UK. In the UK, they don't skylar, especially when it comes to women and children. Here, children, yeah. Adults, no. It's like a hands off. It's like, all right, all these big people, all they handle all their business. And then when they go, the man either chopper, shooter, or, which is hardly happen, she might pelt a pot pan or a tower or something behind him. If you understand what I'm saying. So we don't
Right.
take
So
and you know that,
we
Chica.
have
You know that.
Maria saying my neighbor saved my life
Yeah.
27 years ago. So
Wow.
Maria, I'm glad that your neighbor, reached out and really helped you, right? Nicola is saying anyone can report abuse.
Anyone.
So yes, so that we have the numbers to the bottom of the screen, people. So if it is a child, so we have the Children's Authority hotline, we have the police, we have the domestic violence hotline, we have Childline as well, right? And she was also saying that sometimes when it is you go to make a report to the police, that they say, nah, don't worry, or they go make up. And then the police officer, they do not take the report.
Exactly.
Now, it has some women, right? Because we know they are the victims of physical abuse most of the time. What they do, they may call the police and say, come and talk to my husband now. And when the police come now to talk, sometimes the man, he becomes violent and the police officers decide, well, if it is you want to be violent, I will be with you just the same.
They'll take
and then
him,
the woman, and then he will, nah, don't leave my husband and say, right?
Or some of them don't come out. Like you call the police, but then you stay inside when the police come, and your husband not going outside because he didn't call the police.
Yes.
So you lock up inside, and the police blow in, and nobody coming out.
Is so true. You report an incident, you report an abuse, but when they come knocking on your door, you stay inside. So you like the licks again.
No, it's fair. It is not about your liking.
I don't think it's
fair.
Remember we discussed this already.
Yes. No, Mike, I could tell you. I don't wish to share, but I can tell you that I know personally you call the police and then, let me say, things reach a position where they take the man into custody. When he comes back out, where is he coming? Back home to you to abuse you, because now you leave an impression in his mind that you call the police on him. You're not for him.
Yeah.
Right? And he coming back to abuse you.
In the UK, she probably gonna say the same thing. Them ain't doing that.
No, in the UK,
they
no.
do that.
First thing they ask a woman is,
in Trinidad,
where to go.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't help you. That is the thing. They don't help you. And a lot of women, they would stay in the relationship because they don't like the abuse, but they wish that their partner could change. Right? So that's one. You wish that your partner could change because you love your partner.
Yeah,
And
that
then
not more
some will not
love.
leave because of the
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah, because
you
If
know?
kids are
Listen,
involved,
right?
that
yeah,
is even worse
yeah,
because if
yeah.
you get in, if they ask you, you have anywhere to go, any friends, family, and you say no, they will find somewhere
Yep.
for you to go.
Same
And
night.
if you decide, oh no, I love him, he got change, and you have kids, they will physically remove
The
them kids.
children. Yeah.
You can stay on your
Okay.
legs if
Yeah,
you
they
want,
do.
but the
They
kids,
do. Yeah.
they
They'll
will
take the
remove
kids.
the kids.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do skylark with
Yeah,
children and
and
cause it like that. Yeah,
yeah,
chica.
so here as well, they do take, because if it is anybody call and make a report about a child being abused, they respond quickly, right? For the most part, whether it's the children's authority, whether it's the police, people, they get involved, the victim and witness support unit, as Nicola just mentioned. Um, so it is quick movements when it comes to the children, right?
very
But
quick.
we as adults, we have to. Okay, so Nicola saying it might appear so, but nobody want that they are seriously mentally and psychologically compromised to make rational choices. So here, when it says someone they are in danger, right? They think about different. Yeah, it's like you're planning. You don't go to war without a strategy. You must have
Mm-hmm.
plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. You must have backup plans, right? So when it is you realize what is happening, you realize that you're really in a bad situation. Because sometimes what happens, some persons they take too long to get out of it. They may start off with the verbal abuse, right? And then they realize they get one hard slap during the quarrel. And it surprised you. Some women, they say the first slap this be the last. Yeah? So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first slap, they realize, okay, something, nah, and they say, well, sorry. Sometimes the person who slapped might say, sorry, I didn't mean to do it. Some women will choose to leave one time and some women will believe, but then you might see that it becomes a pattern of behavior. What do you do then? So, women out there, if it is you are being abused, your child, people, please, if it is you know that your child is being abused by another partner or by some other family member in the home, right? Don't leave it and brush it off, because you are responsible for that child as well, right? You will
Funny,
be, it come like you are being the abuser, you just looking on, so you become the abused. Once it is you looking on, you are the abuser as well, right?
some of the
Nicola is saying
abuser,
some don't see it because they're so accustomed, right? And they ignore the signs. So as we say, if it is a growing up in a home and is seeing it, or you might be even seeing it in a community, and people thinking it is normal. So Maria is saying sometimes you call the police and your spouse threaten you, then you get scared and will not open the door. And yes, so Maria is explaining how it is, even if the victim calls the police, what could happen, the reason for not opening the door. So let us say the person actually has a weapon. And they say, well, if you open that door, I'm going to kill you, the children, and myself. Will you open the door?
No. Your mind going into protecting your kids now. Although you know that the police is
Exactly.
law enforcement, but you sometimes
Exactly.
you have this fear of this person being able to do anything that come to their mind,
Yeah.
that you will go through
But you know,
Exactly.
anything
but you know,
They are literally holding a gun or a
to your
cutlass,
head.
or they have some poisonous substance to give to that child,
but
right?
listen to
Mm-hmm.
this. One of the things
You're not gonna open that door.
Nikki now mentioned something there,
Yeah.
which is an obvious thing in Trinidad.
Very
But
true. If it is you're
people,
with officers, because what happens, the police officer, what they do is like they say they're protecting their own,
yep,
and they will not deal with the matters it's supposed to be dealt with. So a lot of times they are women, and there would have been a situation, I think just last year, of police officer who would have been killed by her husband, who was also, and both of them were the police service, as a matter of fact, right? So it is some for persons who are in the army and all the protective services. It is even hard,
But
more
that's
challenging for them to
yeah, but
make a report.
that's what I'm now going to say. In the law enforcement, the army, the police, the prisons, most of, and this is real, most of these servicemen are abusers even in their own marriages and relationships. So let's say in the police service, let's say a police officer who's an abuser, abusing his wife, goes out on a call to a domestic violence home or abusive home. How is he handling that? When he also is an abuser, that's a normal thing in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, you might be surprised to see. You may be surprised to see that that said police officer who is an abuser may help that other woman or help the victim in that situation, right? Because remember, right? No, I'm just saying they may actually help, right? So even though they are an abuser, some persons, they are very protective of others. You know, they are protective of other people on the outside, but they are not protecting their own.
But also, they have to
sometimes they don't believe that they are abusing. You know, when they come up, they bring the reasons for their reaction. They don't believe it's abuse.
So
you have to look at
Nicola
the other
is saying, I've witnessed with my own cases where I went with a woman to report, and the female officer who claimed she have training questioning the victim like she is the abuser. Right? So sometimes the officers themselves, I know they were trying to work on that, you know, train the officers in how to deal with these type of cases. Yes. Mrs. Lewis is saying they're supposed to have some sort of department for those military. So now there is in the services, there is counseling specifically for the officers, you know, and their families. Right? But sometimes
and specific,
because of shame.
thing for reporting. Yeah.
Yeah, because of shame, some persons don't report. Because of fear, some persons do not report.
Depending on the rank of your husband too. If he's the one in charge of the whole section, you think you're going to report on him?
You have to take it to a higher authority, or you may have to go to another. You have to see. So that's why I say there are different. You can't just jump out and say, well, I'm going just so. Sometimes the situation calls for very much strategic planning to get out of the situation.
But you also
like a plan.
You also have to remember too, you're talking about the services now. And I remember talking about this some years ago. Put yourself in a police officer position. He leaves home in a good stead, goes out to do his duty. He's not an abuser, but he leaves home, go out, does his duty, get involved in crime during the day. Mentally, pulling a trigger to shoot somebody is not an easy thing. So now he is now returning to his family, to his wife. Now that aspect of it where he has not shot somebody on duty, knowing that he probably killed the person, and now he has to leave the service without anybody sitting and saying, let's do a meltdown. That don't happen in Trinidad and Tobago. So before
it's supposed to happen, right? That's why they have.
It's supposed to happen.
It's supposed to happen. Now, some persons, they may say, nah, I all right. Right? Sometimes they may even sit and they say that they're all right, but they're really not all right.
Exactly.
And that's why some persons say, they have this saying when they leave your work, when they leave in the compound then, to even bring it to a gate, right? Some persons have that thing where, you know, don't take your work home.
Yeah.
But sometimes your work, you do take your work home.
Yep.
Right? This is for everybody, yeah? This is for nurses, for doctors, for social workers, psychiatrists, psychologists, everybody.
Yeah, don't forget radio announcers too.
And radio announcers.
Yeah,
security officers. I mean, that could be anybody. Some of these things that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes, also Nicola just mentioned there's gender-based violence in the police service, right? Sometimes there's gender-based violence, gender-based violence in all sectors. So imagine somebody, because of their gender, they are being discriminated against. Right? So recently, I don't think I would even share that report. When I saw it, it was very disturbing that, someone who supposed to be a part of the community that's supposed to protect children is now being charged for sexual exposure, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is very disturbing. And what is that show? Yes, leave your work on work.
Can't wait. It is
Somebody get
difficult to do.
exposed.
It is
Somebody get
difficult.
exposed.
You know how many
Yeah.
times I come home with work on my mind?
Yeah, the CEO that's doing the same
It's
thing
be
too.
it
Come
just
on,
be
every time
difficult.
she reach home is
Just
work,
be
work,
Yeah.
work, work, work.
Sometimes you're home, you're minding a business and work meet you at your home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And proper example, today I know I had that experience. I was like, oh gosh, I just do things.
Portion.
Yeah. But yeah, so
But Nikki
Nicola
said
is saying,
something
and also
which is true.
physically abused by their female partners, but due to our culture, we ridicule the men.
Thank you.
So they
Thank
don't
you.
report it. Yeah, so
Thank
there
you.
are cases where women do physical. Some people say that could happen, just as with sexual abuse. Yes, that can happen. I remember when I was going to school, I see a girl, what should I, when I tell you, she deal with a fella, well, when I tell you, it was the girl, she deal with him well dread. You would think it's a man, a boy was fighting, but it was a girl and boy fight, and the girl well mashed up. So I mean, it is possible that a woman. So people think, nah, that's not possible. It is possible. Look at Mike Small, right? Sharon saying
Imagine
that
he
he give
get
him
in
a
a fight with
trouble,
me.
right? He giving trouble on the live, and then you see one pan felt at you,
from the sea.
one
But
frying
no.
pan.
Ole just be flies on my wall, yeah? If Ole see the crack in my kitchen, when you see she jam me on that kitchen wall there, the whole wall crack, you know.
Careful what you say on the live. I hope you put
You
us a
know,
disclaimer there.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So we just trying to make little light of the situation.
Yeah, but
But
seriously.
we have to be mindful even for us, we ourselves, let us be mindful of the things that we say to those that we love. Let us be mindful of the things that we do. And let us even, set the right example. When it is you have a grandmother or even a mother that may be elderly, you don't, as I said, financial abuse is something that people don't look at. You go, they get a pension and you go and take the whole pension and they say, right, they maybe buy some groceries. Yes. Well, might be seeing it, they just really get jam on the wall there. Right? So you might buy some groceries for that and say, right, that's all you need. Sometimes they just may put the parent in a home and just leave them there.
No.
Abandon them. Maria is saying an abuser always make you look like you was the wrong one. After they smash you in your face, will turn to say, look what you made me do.
Yeah, that is true.
Yes, some because
Exactly.
you see rage
Very narcissistic.
and rage is a very, very, it's a woman with a real rage, and that's why they encourage some persons to go to anger management, because some persons don't know how to control their anger. So even though you may be angry at the person for what it is they are saying or what it is they are doing, you have to have that control and really control. The AC control is something very, very important. Right, so Mrs. Lewis is saying, don't play mad. My husband know what I stand for. Right? Yes, gaslighting. Yes. Right? But you don't want to tell your abuser you're gaslighting, man. Or, you have to find different ways and how to,
You mentioned something, Chica, that's very important. When it comes to parents, your parent itself. And you have the ability to take care of them home, but you would prefer to rush them and push them in a old people's home. But then, when you put them in your home, you don't visit them. You don't look back. So isn't that a form of abuse also?
That's abandonment.
Right.
That's abandonment. You see, when it is you are actually in the home, that's when you're in a domestic situation. That's why they say domestic violence, because you are in the home, right? So it is a domestic situation. But if it is you just leave the person wherever, you just drop them off and you leave them, that is abandonment,
So,
right?
Madam,
So
Madam CEO,
Nicola is saying, I will just tell those men, if you such a rude boy and like to abuse, my message to them, don't sleep hard, right?
that's a
No,
threat.
it have, yes, right? It have some women, right? That, well, Nicola is saying neglect and abandonment is abuse. Some person may see it as abuse, some person may see it, yes, neglect, because the person could be living in the home itself. But sometimes when persons take someone and just put them in a home, they just totally forget about them. They are not I don't have to say they're actually doing anything to the person itself. But if it is you are in a home and you have a child and you are not taking care of their well-being, making sure that they are clean, providing them with food, yes, that is definitely abuse, because you are the one supposed to be taking care of them within that home environment, right? Um, so we have to be very careful. We know some persons, they put their parents in homes or a close relative in a home because they may not be really able to physically take care of them, and they will say leave it to the professionals, those who can do that job, right? And that is understandable. You may visit them, and all of that is understand. Even persons with mental disorders, right? Sometimes a parent may not be able to handle the situation. Either have no other choice but to put them in an institution. Yeah, they really have, because they really cannot handle it. It could be they may be putting themselves in danger just by having them within the home. It can be a danger to them and the rest of the family. All right. Yes. So yes, we report neglect and abandonment for children. Of course, that definitely happens, right? And parents, you have to be very careful, because what is seen as discipline is actually abuse when they're doing it on a regular basis. You find the child not doing good in their schoolwork, and every day they get in next because they are not performing well, or something happened and it was not the child's fault and you be there for it. Remember when parents used to tell children, if you come home and it's a you get licks from somebody, I went and beat you too. Don't come home and tell me you get beat up. If you're fighting, make sure you win the fight. And some children really would have gotten licks from their parents if it is a got in a fight. Sometimes it's the neighbor beat you because they say disrespectful, and when they reach home again, and next piece of licks on top of that.
I passed through that to my dad. I passed through that to my father, but it was the reverse. It's not reaching home.
Yes, not allowing a child to go to school is a form of abuse, because you know the child has a right to an education, right? The child has a right to go to school, right? So yes, and it's have a lot of parents, but as we saw recently, there was a mother who did not even have her children registered. They were non-existent. She did not register
their birth papers or anything.
Yeah, she did not register their birth. Yes, Abby,
and then she had a daughter who had a child.
Yes, and as the one relative help out the door, she got her birth paper and the child's birth paper at the same time. So nobody's taking who in this day and age. Yes, it is still happening.
And it's still happening.
It is still happening. It is still happening. And sometimes some people really, they might just see the children up and down, and people, if it is you really see, you observe these things. There's something called anonymous. You can make an anonymous call and make a report. Right? If it is you, I mean, you don't, as I say, you don't have to give a name now. They say they have tracking and who they could trace where the call coming from and all these different things, right? But like insurance authority, sometimes if it is a person would like to provide the information just to contact, just to get more information, some persons are free and willing to do so, right? So we have to be careful. And as I said last week, if it is a child reports a case of abuse, whatever it may be, please don't bypass it and don't be like you're lying. Make the relevant report and make sure that you do what is right by the child, by persons with disabilities. I mean, these are even adults with disabilities too. They are also abused, and no one does anything about it. Sometimes they comparing your child with a disability to a child without a disability and hoping that the child with the disability is behaving or performing as the child without a disability. That is a form of abuse as well. No,
Chica,
you cannot put them in the same. Do not do that. Parents, do not compare your children and don't say it should be like a sister or or your brother. Those that's also a form of abuse, right?
Chica,
So Nicola is saying
Chica.
the reason for stopping corporal punishment in school is because we signed the
Yes.
rights of the Convention of the Child
Yep.
Treaty.
Yep. Now, Chica, I know before we go, Chica and Trini, when it comes to discrimination in Trinidad and Tobago, are there any laws for that?
Well, we have the Equal Opportunity
Act?
Commission, and we also have a commission as well. That persons may make reports whether it's discrimination in the workplace and so forth. They go to the Equal Opportunity Commission and make reports,
Is that
right?
taken serious in Trinidad?
I cannot speak. I never went and make a report. I do not know anyone who would have made a report, so I cannot say if any cases were really
It
dealt.
recently had a case in the papers where this person is blind and all the banks now are encouraging online banking. However, their website does not provide online banking for persons with disabilities, specifically persons who are blind. So there's no reading out aloud of the things on the screen and all of that on the website. So the person cannot conduct business. And she, I think it's a lady, wrote to the Equal Opportunities Commission and they were handling it for them on the
Right.
behalf. But she
So,
got a lawyer to work with her. So
okay, well, that is good.
there are lawyers that do these things pro bono for you.
Yeah.
But you have to like get with the correct organization. So like
But
if you're
you
blind,
know why
there
I
are some
asked that question?
organizations and
So,
NGOs
yeah,
that
so Nicola is saying when you go to the station, know the name of the parent and child, contact info and address, and make sure they write it in the big book and get a receipt,
Right, it in the
right?
big book.
In the big book.
Which big book?
it
Yes,
have a big book when you make a report.
You mean they
a
write it on a
big
piece of
black book.
paper, and when you
No,
leave, they throw it away?
No,
no,
no, no,
Big
no,
book you're
no.
talking about.
A book
no. You
where they
just
will
wait
write the
long. You just
time,
have to wait
the
long. But in the big
every
book,
day writing all the details, time, the person came in, the name of the person who made the report. Sometimes they may even take an ID number if it's all that is necessary.
Maybe
Contact
things
yeah,
change
information,
now.
or they may get an officer to type up the report that
Or
you're making.
maybe it
right?
changed
Because
now.
even
Maybe it
though they
changed
And
now.
write it,
you get a
they have
receipt.
to type it.
Yeah,
Now,
they have to log that.
why I mentioned discrimination? Because
Mm-hmm.
within discrimination, you could add abuse. Because in the UK, and Abby will tell you this, if your neighbor discriminates against you, you pick up the phone, you call the Met or Manchester, well, I could talk for Manchester, within minutes when they come. It ain't nothing like looking for no lawyer. It ain't nothing more going to court. You discriminate against a neighbor for the slightest thing, they're taking it down. That's
But
why I
Mike, as I
asked.
say, discriminate, right? As I say, discriminate. Now we know we have extended families,
Yeah.
and sometimes where abuse may happen is that the interracial marriages or interracial couples.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have abuse in the home due to that. It have some, let us say, a grandparent. Unfortunately, the parents may die, and they left with the grandchild, and the grandparents could be abusive towards and say all the different things, bastard,
Yeah.
and all,
Yeah.
so in that
Yep.
case, yes, it
Yep.
could have discrimination within the home itself,
Exactly.
right? When persons blended families as well, there can be abuse in the home. right? So we want to be mindful if we don't want to be someone who's an abuser, and if it is you realize that you have the potential, if it is you realize you are displaying signs of, or you realize that you are actually being abusive towards your child, towards your parent, whoever is in the home, you are the abuser. You too can seek help, right? Nicola is saying, I believe there are high in the same sex male couples a lot of abuse take place. So it's
Yeah, and
the
minority groups
intimate,
too.
yeah, the intimate, the gays, lesbians. I mean, it doesn't. Whatever intimate partner relationship you have, yes, there are abuse that do take place in those types of relationships.
Only didn't just see what happened.
Yeah, she
You
touched.
see, like your cups paddle there. What's going there?
A bottle. What you call that? Somebody pelting a plastic
Well, I just
CJ bottle.
see you falling. I was not sure what was happening there.
My
I
We
just, I
had
just,
to
I
when
just
we
Mom,
come
remember.
up the.
are you being abused?
No, I'm not.
Mike, you
But
could call Shamika anytime and discuss it with her, okay? She'll put you onto the relevant authorities.
but
Yeah, so Nicola saying high numbers and male
yeah.
couples.
Hey,
Yeah.
that is true, you know. That is true, you know.
And sometimes what it have some person it has so many different things that I mean like some persons they isolate.
Mm-hmm.
Some person they let it's like they can't develop friendships or anything like that outside of the relationship. Some persons are very insecure. So you see when a person is insecure, they put their insecurities on you and be like, I see this was so you have to be very, very careful. Yes.
But
Sure,
but
let's say you're off duty, Shamika, so
Well,
he can't
I'm now
report.
kind of I reading and I now blinking my head to see what is taking place. Yeah, sometimes we
thanks,
the
Sherlock.
police
Thanks,
station they are open 24/7. The
Serious?
hospital, the ambulance, yes, 24/7. So that's why you can call at any
We take
time. The
it.
police, yes, and the hotlines if there's an emergency.
You
Yes.
see, this is what we're talking about, right? And I having a serious issue with this. I was pelt a bottle. I ducked. Another one of my male colleagues is saying
Mm-hmm.
the social
Take
worker
the lick.
is off duty. And then he typed again to say let him get licks. So how I go put my confidence in another man?
Well, that's why men do not go to men to say that they are being
So
abused,
you think I going to lion? Why going to evil?
No,
right?
Exactly.
you call Shamika in secret.
Yeah, I go call
Yes.
Shamika. I go call Shamika. That's to
Yeah.
show you an
So
example. Yeah.
Nicola said, not sure when we would reach that level at the UK. It
Yeah.
probably be a social worker dream with those type of
Yeah.
agencies and
But
policies.
Exactly.
Trini and Shamika,
I
I
had an
think
experience where it is I got a report from a student of abuse, and I recognized that the parents did not want to go to the station, and I went in the station to make sure that the report was made and that the yeah, sometimes that's what you have to do. So because what happens sometimes when it's as I was saying last week, when it is the abuser is the breadwinner in the home, the other person who is the dependent may not want to go and make a report, and they know that the child is in danger.
yeah.
As the social worker, you can assist. It's like you're being an is advocacy. You're being an advocate. You're
Right.
being there as their support system. That's what we're there for,
Right.
support.
Right.
So you go with them and make sure that the report is made. And then,
Right.
of course, you have to and based on the circumstance, they may realize that the dependent, right, is or they too is you realize that they are in harm's way as well. So they make sure that they seek help. Yes. If it is a parent, no, they can't be charged. So
Yeah.
Oh gosh, if it is a no, please report. Don't turn a blind eye or don't say,
No,
and then no, the
but you have to remember too.
child is know if it is you know, especially if
But you have to
they
but you have to remember, you have to think about we living in a society today here. When people take that chance to report stuff like that, you're talking about I think people would love to make reports, but because they believe there could be backlash, people kind of hold back a little bit.
That's why over here they don't wait for people to report.
Yeah, that
They
was
have
it.
their
That
sleeping
was it.
agents
Yeah,
even in the school, and I
yeah.
experienced that at one time. Now my son, he just eat like food going out of season,
Mm-hmm.
and at then times he was fat and chubby, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a statement. He, oh, I can't wait for lunch. I am so starving. Now the sleeper in the school heard that remark, and one time I was calling to the school. They already put social services in place,
Yep,
and
those Skylark social services, the
just
first
by
people
he
they call.
saying that
Yeah,
word, yeah,
yeah.
or are starving. So
he
I
can't
have
wait
to
for
now,
that.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
Lord.
Yeah. No, no.
So now
What
I
she's
have
saying is
to,
true.
yeah, I
Yeah.
have to kind of tell her that is how we speak in our culture. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's just to emphasize that you're so hungry
Mm-hmm.
that he used the word starving. I just use it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was almost put in that situation where social services could have
Yeah.
intervened.
The first thing in the
Yeah,
UK,
and the next
guys.
thing too, we do have to understand culture. So you see how Abby mentioned culture there? As social workers, we too have to understand the culture.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
even though whatever the culture is, still, I'm sure they would have investigated. And
They
what
have,
they do
yeah.
too, they will do home visits to make sure there's food, and they will monitor whether the child does bring lunch or
Yeah.
breakfast, if they have snack.
So,
It will have
yeah.
things that they will do to investigate and see if it is okay. What she's saying is really the culture. He just says eat plenty, and he say that he's starving and can't wait for lunch, right? And that's where the
But
investigation
what
That's
what
sad.
normally
comes in.
happens? What normally happens in the UK too? Abby could test to that. In a lot of schools now, what they have since because child abuse and thing is so big, even from in the homes, they will put somebody normal like me, normal like you, anybody else.
Call them sleepers, yes.
Right, the sleepers, right? They put the sleepers in school. You don't know nothing about them. They might be. You figure there's the security guard. You figure there's the cleaner, but they getting paid to do a job, as silent as it is. And
They're looking at
right,
how the kids dress.
the social services. That's why
Yeah.
I say in Trinidad we skylarking. The social services in the UK, they'll be the first person in line of defense to come to assist children, In
Not the
Trinidad,
police,
we
not
ain't
really
doing
the
that.
police, yes.
We ain't
But
doing
they on the
that.
board. They're the first person they call. If your
Yeah.
child go to school with a dirty
Hmm.
shirt, even
Yeah.
my son now, as old as he is, he's 14. If he put on a dirty shirt to school and they sight that and see that, wait, this child's shirt,
Yeah.
they would have to pull him in a corner. They would, interrogate him,
Interrogate him,
find
yeah.
out what's going on home. And
Exactly.
they would,
Yeah.
so we have to
Because
be very
they
careful.
look at children's behavior in the schools, During
Very
that time.
well, yeah.
From the time a child come to school, as Abby say, and they know yesterday you were happy and smiling. From the time that child come to school with a different demeanor,
Yeah.
flags start to go up. That's the difference. But we don't do that here. And as Nikki said, until that day come for Trinidad, it don't have to be the UK because America is the same thing. They don't mix alike with children, animals, and women. Men will be the last resort. Right? Until you guys as social workers could understand that and look, the best thing I would say to you all, you and Chika and Trini, Nikki, go on the websites in UK so you have an idea, even your own personal job in Trinidad. Because do you know, even in Trinidad, you could also get reference from the UK to help in your job, Do you know that? Because
Yeah.
Trinidad still stands with that
Yeah.
treaty.
Yeah, we do.
And exactly. So what you guys should do on your, when children do have your neck down and all kind of thing, and Trini, when
So
wherever you
as
they be going,
Nicola is saying, as social workers, we advocate for all,
yeah,
right? So as I just
Yeah.
shared one of my experiences, if it is no child should be coming to me and saying, this is what is happening and I'm doing nothing about it. If it is
something
the
wrong.
police come and they need to get a report, they will get it very quickly.
Yeah, very good,
They come
very
to
good.
get some information. I mean, some Nicola is correct. Social work is a it's not really recognized here in Trinidad and Tobago. That is a fact, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think what some persons don't understand is that it have some professions. It's a calling. It's not. It's a vocation, as they would say. It's not any and everybody could go into it.
Yeah,
True.
And I think that people have to really understand that they have to go in there with a heart and with a passion.
yeah.
That is what they really want to. If they
And
don't have that,
no
do
demands, no
not
demands,
do
no
not go
demands.
in do not go into
To go
it.
into it.
A
Right?
lot
Yeah.
of people
Correct.
And where our
hesitate.
sustainable development goals come from is from the UK. So
We still
as
follow
we
the
could
UK
always
laws.
we could
We
yeah,
still follow the UK laws.
the sustainable development goals that the all those things that we sign to eradicate and to this and to that. You know, that's why we could still get resources and so on from the UK to get
A lot of
assistance.
a lot of
Yeah,
We could
people
write, you know, you could always
yeah,
write to them and
yeah,
they will respond.
yeah. They
yeah,
do,
a
they
lot of
do.
people who ain't passionate into the social work and the health sector.
Yeah,
Those who are not passionate and get caught have been fined and jailed.
yeah.
True.
We follow all
Yeah.
laws and true Trini Nikki. Yeah, we do follow all laws. And it's time for that to change. Because when you look at what's happening, like for instance, I don't know if all you follow in the news with the abuse with the man and the child. He don't get bail already. So he's coming out now
Now,
to
my
perform
hear
under.
what, right? We have more than one of those cases.
Well, I
So
just use that as an example. Yeah,
I'm
he
not
get
too
bail.
sure
We're not too sure which one you're talking
which
about.
case,
The
we're
late,
not sure
the
which
last one.
case.
The last one with the
It have many
family.
cases happening right now.
You
So it's
see? You see? You
It's
see?
plenty,
right.
it's plenty.
And Nikki is saying, imagine our education act still have parts of that old laws. And that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I
Yeah.
had to go through that educational law because when I was trying to get Jerry's into school and a school denied her, I had to go through the law and it was like
You see?
some of the things where I see in where they say, you know, who need to be in special needs school and stuff and for her disability specifically, she not really entitled to much, you know? But with the changes from the sustainable development goals and the new policies that they're bringing out, she is entitled,
Yeah.
you know. But the old
Yeah.
law is it's not for them.
Yeah, but I would recommend that
Yeah.
Chika and Chini, you all research the laws in the UK, you know. It may benefit you guys in the job you're doing because it will give you an idea of how the UK operate when it comes to all these different abuses and stuff. And it could help because, as I said, we still following most of the laws from the UK. Don't let anybody tell you different. Right? If it was so, we wouldn't run to Supreme Court and this one and that one and all kind of thing. The UK still have that stamp of law in Trinidad and Tobago. But not much people will know that. Like you guys will know because you're in a field that you always have to be up in your ante all the time because you're dealing with the public. Not so?
Yes, yes.
And if you stay at a level of just like what Verena said, if she didn't go into the law of the Education Act, she would have never known what is right and what is wrong. So that's why we don't have much people in social work in Trinidad and Tobago. Because
take
they're
it
not going
serious.
forward with anything. How much power you guys have as social workers, Chika?
I do not know to say how much powers we have, you know. I mean everybody has their role and function and I think that is what we will need to understand what
All right.
our roles and functions are. And once you understand what your roles and functions are and you are able to carry that out, so as Nicola said, sometimes you meet stumbling blocks. Because when there are matters that you can't lock somebody up right? You may
We
be
know
able to
that.
go to court and
Yeah.
these things, but then it is up to the magistrate, up to the
But
judge,
do
or
these social
whoever
workers in
to
Trinidad,
final.
but do the socials and workers in Trinidad have the power to remove children from homes under social
That's where the
services?
children, that's where the children's authority comes in.
Is the Children's Authority functioning at all? That's
Well,
the
they are
question.
functioning.
Yes, Mike.
They
The
Just
are,
function.
they
asking.
are,
Just
but
asking.
they are functioning, right? Just sometimes what happens, manpower is not, as I said, they are not much social workers, so sometimes the manpower is not enough. All right, so Nicola is saying, yes, so for example, a child under the age of 12 must be in school. So what's happening for those over the age of 12? I used to telling parents about that part of the law to make sure they send their children to school,
Thank you.
Exactly. And
Thank you.
here, although they say a
right?
child
So in
under the
terms
age
of
of
the,
12, like persons with disabilities, some children don't go to school and nobody reporting that, nobody holding them accountable for not sending their child to
Yeah,
school because the
exactly.
child have a disability,
yeah,
Yeah.
you know?
yeah,
So
Abby,
yeah.
it's like the law doesn't
Yeah,
work for
so
some.
so as Nicola is saying, so like me, I don't have the authority to take a child out of the
okay.
home,
Okay.
right? So there are different types of social workers as well. So there are medical social workers, psychiatric social workers, school social workers, right?
Yeah.
And as yes, you have to go with a police
Yes, you
officer.
do. Yep.
So you can't
Yep.
just ups and just go and remove the child. So every country is different. Everybody have different laws and policies in place.
No,
And that's what we,
I just say that, right? There's nothing wrong with it because they do the same thing in UK. The police must support the social worker when they go into any home or anything. They must be accompanied by a police officer. So, that's correct what she's saying. But again, I think social work in Trinidad needs to be at another level because of the fact that people like yourself and Chininiki, who probably have the passion for it, could have limitations, if you understand what I'm saying.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
in a lot of situations, there are a lot of limitations
Never have a
in
vehicle.
all, in
The police
all,
vehicle.
in
Take a
all
maxi.
sectors. So you might even have police officers say they didn't have a vehicle to go to the
Take a
crime
maxi.
scene,
Take a maxi.
right? We know we have cases like that.
Yeah.
So we want to encourage persons, if it is, make a report. If it is even anonymous, you can do that as well, right? And let us really look at ourselves and make sure that we
Yeah.
are the ones who are uplifting and building
Yeah.
our children, our loved ones in a positive way. Let us not be abusers,
Right.
right? And if you want to distress tomorrow, you should always want to distress and relax. It is Sweaty Sunday at 7 a.m. Right, Verena? I hope that you get up early.
Yes, no.
I set in
Yes,
Go
my
to
no.
bed
alarm. I had to
early.
Read
prepare myself for Monday.
read what Chini Nikki said there. Read that.
Um, she had a police ask her what is education and what you want me to do about the child not coming to school. Right? So I mean there are a lot of stumbling blocks. There are a lot, yes, some police help, some don't. Right? So we meet different people. Just as anywhere we go, we meet people who help, we meet
Yeah.
people who don't help.
You all have a
We
tough
meet
job,
people
eh?
who are humane, we meet people who are
You all have
inhumane.
a tough job, eh, Chica? Very tough job. Especially in Trinidad with what's going on. You all have a very tough job.
Yes, and
And
you need to have a lot of patience and
yeah.
passion. You have a lot of things that you need, and
Well,
you need to be
in
strong in
your
order
case,
to, go through it.
having patience is
Yes, Nicola.
not
Yes, yes, definitely.
on money
Yes, she would
post.
like to big up the community police unit in Manipur.
Money
Yes, they
post.
work. I've been there on more than one occasion.
But
So yes, big up to the
Chica,
community police in
when it
Manipur.
comes to patience for you, it should be easy because when you have somebody like Lion there, what is the problem? When you talk about patience, he's more than our patience, So you had a battle with that and battle with work, battle with that again, and then battle at work. We understand what
I
you go through
have
on a
no
daily
comment.
basis. We understand. We are here for you. We are here for
I
you.
have no, Mike, you feel like I am not, as someone said earlier on, you're not going to catch me in your madness.
But we are here for you.
And Nicola, they're saying it, telling me, here easy. Yes. So we want to big up Lion
We are
in the
giving.
background who is making sure that the feed is
You see,
running nice
She
and
has
making
to
sure everything
comply.
nice
She
and
has to comply, you know. So
everything is nice and
you
running.
have Abby.
Right? I
you
do
have
not know what
Marina,
Mike is talking
You have
about.
Trini. We are here to support you. We know what you go through on a daily basis. We experience it on the live nearly every other day. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We experience it. So we sympathize
I hear
with
you,
you.
Mike.
Yeah, we sympathize. But we love you.
I don't
We
need
love you.
any. I do not need any sympathy.
You see?
Neither do I need empathy.
Chini Nikki said, deal with abuse is not easy. Silently. Lion is
That's
not
not
easy.
what she said there.
No, look at what
Right?
look.
So we
Dealing
want
with
to
he
thank. We
is
want to.
abuse alone. You see? You see?
Mike, you just want
You
to
see,
pull down
no.
other people in your madness.
Yeah, don't even
We
say
get
that.
rebuttal
You stay right there with your madness. So we want to thank everyone for locking on tonight. Thank you, Nicola, for sharing. We know that you tried to get on the live tonight. But we want to thank you for, sharing in the comment section. We want to thank everyone for locking on, sharing experiences. I mean, Abby had her own experience. We might never even have Abby on the live if things were different.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, you starving a child. So remember, not giving it, not feeding the child is also a form of abuse, right? Denying them food, denying them even a warm,
denying them play. Denying play
denying them
is abuse.
Exactly, those are forms of abuse.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Well
Yes,
said.
Maria, thanks for joining us and thanks for also sharing your experience.
Maria's in the US, eh? She's in the US. Yeah.
Right,
So guys,
nice.
another powerful show again. Well done, Shamika. Well done, Abby. Well done, Verena. Well, I don't know if they say well done, Trini Nikki, but well done, Trini Nikki. Another powerful show again. What we looking at this week, boy? We doing anything this week?
Tomorrow is Sweaty Sunday. We starting the week with Sweaty Sunday, Mike.
We men they sit down in the back and watch all this, so we will all be operating.
TV is about merging online lives with basic unconventional raw nutrition services.
Yes, people, it's Sweaty Sunday, so let's get this workout in. It's time to smile, sweat, and shine. Let's go.
Giving you that TV effect while streaming live.
I realize Shulon is only come on at particular times and talk. Is that abuse of the live show?
No, Mike, we have to advertise. We have to advertise this Sweaty Sunday so people can know what it is about. So they can jump out and
I share it all over. So a lot of people like it. Well done, Shamika. Well done again. All right. So what are you cooking tomorrow?
Mike, we ain't talking about what we're cooking tomorrow. Food.
What you're cooking was this morning.
Sunday. What are you cooking?
Yeah. Yes, food. You're cooking food.
Michael said he can't take the abuse. Okay.
And that is madness. Yeah, see, that type of madness, that is a sign. That is a sign.
I get in touch with snacks here. For you to call
them. Like they're telling you, open the pack.
So guys, we'll catch you in the morning. Have a good rest. I am on later with a little retro funk. So,
Yeah.
have a good one. Let's go out with
No, I
King and
finish.
Queens. So you're listening to the effects of COVID-19 on the family, the blueprint with Shamika James, our social worker here at Burn TV and Radio Irie. And the topic today was physical and verbal abuse. I want to say thanks to Chinim, Nikki, and all those who are locked on, Maria all the way in the US. You can see the numbers below, people. You can write them down as quick as. If anybody begin abuse right now in their home, like Verena and company, you can just write down the numbers and call Childline and everybody else. But guys, have a good night. Catch you all in the morning. We gone.
And now you are my shining star. Yes, you are. Girl,
oh, I'm so city.
I got SPM, baby. I got SPM, no. I fais petit temps, baby. I got SPM, no. I got SPM, baby. I got SPM, no. Wap got SPM, tandis. I got SPM, no. C'est genre de femme, remets l'argent, bon dollar. Toujours à checker, n'est qu'à travail dans l'état. T'as eu remets pouvoir, t'as eu remets ça. Quatre roues motrices, vite tes services de l'état. Adia, pas exigeant passé, yo pas souviré, depuis yo pas prado. Dommage, ça yo pas c'est bouillir de l'eau. Si c'est pour manger, ou mettre compris mon resto. I got SPM, baby. I got SPM, no. I fais petit temps, baby. I got SPM.
They got burn team. They got calorie constant man.
I got SPM, no. Give me now. Give me now.
Yes.
Chérie, faut entendre. Let me see you. L'aime fait la jambe, moi fait lundi. De 7 à 19h, son jour